Welcome to Navigating Business Decisions. This is a video series where I discuss the results of a survey that was done in Northeast Ohio with the help of students from Kent State University. And I am Grace LaConte. I am providing some additional insights through the series, and you can find the actual 64-page in-depth report, which is what I'm reading here. You can find it at my website, laconteconsulting.com/Ohio-survey. We also have a 2-page summary if you'd rather not read the entire report. But I wanted to focus on another section, and this is on industry-focused strategies. So part of what we did in this study was to not just evaluate what business owners think and how they go about making decisions, but we wanted to see it in specific categories. So we wanted to look at data sliced by revenue amounts, by employee size, by location, by gender, and then also by industry. So although we looked at industries as a whole, there are some insights that we gleaned from companies in particular industries that we think would be helpful to other business owners within those industries and even outside of them. So there are 5 different sectors that we evaluated. The first one was manufacturing and industrial, and we found that it's not a big surprise, but efficiency, automation, and supply chain resilience are the most important things for the companies in this industry to be successful long term. And there are some really challenging things when it comes to adapting to technology and implementing lean manufacturing practices and predictive maintenance, where you can actually anticipate that machines will have some maintenance processes and updates. And also workforce is the biggest problem probably in this sector compared to other sectors as well. It's so hard to find qualified, skilled workers, especially in certain parts of the country, who are able to work in these sectors without much additional training, and also to make sure that they are reliable. And workforce development. So it's not only hard to find qualified workers, especially in manufacturing and related industries, but it's also hard to rely on employees who will stay and do the job for an extended period of time. I mean, it's just really common for employees sometimes to not stay in a company for very long. They find other opportunities or higher pay. And although pay is one of the aspects that we found was of concern when it comes to retaining employees, there's also a lot of culture and the need to feel appreciated and to have a flexible schedule. There's some aspects to retaining employees that go way beyond just paying them more. So of course, that is one of the biggest challenges, is how do we have enough money available in the company to increase salaries, and how do we do that in a fair way? But there's also other ways to attract employees and to create a culture that's supportive and still gets the job done. So it's a fine line, and it is a very difficult challenge to overcome, but this is something that's especially difficult in manufacturing. So for lean principles, first, I mean, anybody in this industry knows that value stream mapping and just in general looking for eliminating waste and improving efficiency is the constant concern, and it's been attempted, I'm sure, in every company out there in the industry. But it is still something to keep in mind. There are ways that waste just creeps up and creates some opportunities that are lost because that material is not used fully before it's discarded, or where materials are not used in the way that could create additional sales or profit margins. I mean, there's just so many examples of that, of wasted effort, wasted steps, duplicated processes that are not needed. And it can be kind of annoying to hear this over and over, and yet there's still always opportunities to improve this. A lot of times it takes change, and most people are resistant to change. So that's a big challenge in most of these companies. Adopting predictive maintenance, so Internet of Things and AI are really useful tools. And again, you don't have to rely on them fully. You don't have to just hand your company over to technology, but they are definitely very useful in monitoring equipment and deciding how often you're going to be meeting the needs of your machinery or your other components that are needed to run your company. So this can reduce downtime, because then you don't have to suddenly stop production just because there is a machine that suddenly starts having problems. You would have predicted that beforehand with regular maintenance rather than having to shut the whole process down. So then employee empowerment. I know this is not popular for, especially for Gen X or Boomer employers and leaders, but it is incredibly important to recognize how younger generations view their work. So frontline workers want to improve how things happen. They want to provide their input, their ideas, their suggestions for how to make things better. And they want to make the company more efficient and effective, but sometimes they are hampered by just challenges with interpersonal issues. Sometimes it's with a culture that is not very supportive of employees providing feedback or honest information. Sometimes that there can be barriers to that communication flowing up the chain of command. And when these challenges happen, it can lead to some discontent and unhappiness for employees who work in an environment where their knowledge and their input is not as appreciated. It is easy when you move into the upper levels of a company to assume that these things are happening well. And just because there is a feedback mechanism in place, we have suggestion cards over here, and we have an online system over here that people can just provide their ideas. We have regular meetings. We ask for input. You may be doing all the right things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be receiving employee feedback in a way that's actually useful. So there are sometimes some levels here to how this happens that may be missed, or just in general, there could be a culture that's actually more aggressive or not as supportive to employees as what leaders may think it is. This disconnect between how people at the top are perceiving it and how people at the bottom are experiencing it can lead to problems within most industries, I would say, but especially certain industries where employee engagement is incredibly important, such as manufacturing and industrial industries. So here's a quote from a manufacturing owner. "We invested in cutting-edge manufacturing technology that we had never used before. It was a bold move, new material, new process, new equipment, but it's opening doors to markets we didn't think we could reach." Okay, so in the construction, real estate, and related services sector, we saw that there were some patterns of material costs that change through time and fluctuate, again with labor shortages, so just not enough people to do the work who are qualified and are not in need of extensive training. And then regulatory challenges was really big in this sector especially. They require firms to prioritize risk management, contract optimization, and digital project management tools. These were just some of the many factors that were shared with us during the survey. So some suggestions here for strategies include sustainable practices. I know this isn't always popular with everybody, but there are some real benefits to looking at eco-friendly materials and processes that still meet regulatory standards and also appeal to environmentally conscious clients or customers. So there is still a need in the market for environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, and more sustainable products and even services that may be a consideration if you haven't done this already. Even if you're not as eager to do this in your company, there is still a tremendous amount of opportunity that you may want to explore. Also, project management software can be incredibly useful if you aren't using it already, because they can centralize your scheduling, your budgeting, and your resource allocation, and then provide you, if it's a really good software system, it can actually help you to look proactively at how to schedule and plan ahead of time so that you can utilize your resources more efficiently. It's not just a way to consolidate the communication, but it's also a way to actually look historically at data so that you can predict what you'll be needing in the future for future projects of the same scope and size. And then finally, client communication. It's really, really important in every industry, really, but especially in these sectors, to maintain good communication with clients, to manage expectations and enhance satisfaction. I would say real estate is one of the most important. Certainly construction, they are related, but when it comes to making sure that expectations are managed, good lesson to be learned. It's just something that will lead to dissatisfaction and potentially more problems down the line. So then we have consumer goods, food and beverage, and hospitality. In this sector, we found that supply volatility is one of the biggest concerns, and that really requires that there's focus on product innovation and keeping track of your inventory, and also enhanced customer experience strategies. So basically, there's a real opportunity for consumer related direct services and products to anticipate and involve the customers in that experience so they can have a better outcome. So with consumer goods, food and beverage, and hospitality, these are three industries within a sector that has some common problems. Supply chain volatility definitely leads to the need to innovate your products, to manage inventory as carefully as possible, and to increase the chance that you're getting return customers, as well as potentially creating even more value that you can then upsell into additional services or products. It can be tricky because business to customer industry revolve primarily around consumer choices that can change so quickly with the advent of social media and other factors that affect consumers' behavior when it comes to making their purchasing choices. This is really common in every industry. Again, it's kind of fickle. You can't rely on people to be repeat customers for a long period of time like you could in the past. Customer loyalty is really something that's, you have to work really hard to keep it, where in the past people tended to work with the same customers over time just because it was more familiar, and that's not the case anymore. First of all, inventory management, again, it's really helpful to use advanced tools and technology so you can optimize the levels of inventory. You don't have wasted materials or extra inventory that is just sitting on shelves. If you have carrying costs, you might want to reduce those. And again, you can really find this out quite easily with good inventory management systems. And also you want to make sure that you have high demand products on the shelves much faster and more available to you than maybe like seasonal products that aren't quite as needed throughout the year. So for personalized customer engagement, CRMs are incredibly important customer relationship management software, and there's so many of them. There are pros and cons with all of them, but a lot of these systems have additional functions that most companies aren't even fully using. And some of them even have data analytics in the background that you could use to create an even more personalized and customized experience for each customer, rather than just relying on more widely shared information. So you could actually be targeting customers based on their previous purchasing behavior and anticipating what they might need before they even ask. This creates a shopping experience that is more likely to get higher sales, and also dining experiences where you can adjust that to the needs of the customer. For quality control, this is really important in a consumer goods or food and beverage industry. Certainly you need to make sure quality is high, but also that you have the standards and can enhance the satisfaction scores of your customers beyond just a one-time event. So what you definitely want to do is increase the likelihood of having repeat sales. Keeping our restaurant fully staffed is a constant struggle. It's an area that requires ongoing attention to maintain quality and service standards. So that's from a food retailer and restaurant owner. Okay, and financial, professional, and technology services. This sector really relies on trust and expertise and digital transformation. There's a lot of technology within these sectors, and so cybersecurity is incredibly important to lock down and protect data that's collected through these services. AI-driven analytics can be very helpful, and personalized client engagement strategies, similar to what we talked about up here, can strengthen market positioning and efficiency. So it's not enough to just, if you're in accounting, it's not enough to just have, I do this service, who wants my help? It is very much needed, especially in this constantly changing environment, to create an engagement strategy and then identify what part of the market you can position yourself in to be more specific to solving a problem that a part of the market would need solved. We would suggest and have strategies for client-centered innovation. So what do your clients want? How do you know what they want? What are they telling you that they need? And how are you identifying those needs and then providing the services specific to solve those problems? Next is scalable processes. So sometimes we get really bogged down in the day-to-day and get pretty familiar and comfortable with certain ways of doing things, but creating workflows that handle more demand. So when we talk about growth, how are you able to scale that without compromising your quality? How is it possible for you to increase the capacity of your business and also not burn out more employees or not create so much of a backlog that your customers are really unhappy. Cybersecurity, it's so important to protect consumer data and internal data, and this will not only create trust, and really it's more like they expect it now. So if you have a breach, it's really unfortunate, not just for the business itself, but the trust that your customers are going to have in you for the future will be impacted. So how are you going to mitigate or reduce the threats to digital cybersecurity problems? And there are some experts out there that can provide services. There are certainly a lot of software tools, and in general, just a lot of good training. If you have an IT department, they can provide regular instruction to your employees on how to create safe logins and not to click on external links, some housekeeping kinds of rules. Finally, agile methodologies. A framework to adapt and be more flexible to market changes is so important, especially in these industries, because things change. Competitors are never going to stop moving forward and offering even more. How are you standing out in the market to make sure that customers want to keep coming back to you? So, quote here, we operate on a 5-year roadmap linked to annual goals. This structure ensures that every daily action contributes to achieving our long-term objectives. That's from a business services owner. So finally, we have the healthcare, arts, and personal services category. Especially in healthcare, definitely saw a trend with regulations as one of the biggest headaches that healthcare facilities and practices have to deal with. Customer expectations is probably a factor throughout most of these industries. And then technological advancements are also part of the future. It is what is happening in every single sector. This makes it necessary for business to basically expect that flexibility has to be part of their operational goals. And so investing in digital solutions and software and rethinking how you're doing business, it's not comfortable, but it is necessary. And then prioritizing workforce training is especially important in these sectors as well. Opportunities for your employees to gain more skills and knowledge, but also to position them for leadership positions as they move up the ladder and as they're prepared for that. Patient-centered care for healthcare, obviously. How can you improve outcomes through personalized care plans and regular follow-ups? And what systems are you using to make sure that you are retaining the patients that you currently have? For technological integration, there are many systems that can streamline patient records, appointments, and billing. Pretty straightforward. That's already very, very widely used in the healthcare sector and kind of required at this point. But there are still ways that individual practices can create more value for their patients. Community engagement. There are so many great opportunities, and we heard about this through the survey, where these opportunities create even more personalized services, and they link the needs of community members with the products or services that these companies can offer to build more relationships and support. And then finally, professional development, kind of connected to this workforce training idea. You definitely want to be constantly providing ways for your staff to improve themselves and continue to push for higher standards for your business. So these two go together. The final quote, our biggest risk is bringing on an additional provider without the existing patient base to support a full-time schedule. We have increasing growth and needed room to accommodate. Healthcare practice owner. So they took a risk by adding another provider, another expert, before they had the patient revenue to accommodate that, but this is turning out to work out in their favor because now they have the ability to expand their patient base. These are just ways that you could potentially apply the insights that we gained from the survey to your business and whatever sector you're in. And if you want to find out more information, be sure to check out the entire report at laconteconsulting.com/Ohio-survey. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you'd like to get more videos. Like and comment if you want to make sure that other people see this, and we'll see you on the next video.